We thought we'd give you a quick tour of affordable gift options available at our new gallery on Garrison Landing. Here we have a set of books about Paris by Émile Zola, no less, published in the 1890s, $75. This book is Legends of the Rhine, published in 1867, beautiful red decorated cover, $75. China in old photographs, very interesting part of the world, collection of early photographs, $25. Things Seen in Egypt, published in 1925. Nice photographic plates. This is a book for beginning map collectors, collecting antique maps. Gives a good point to start at when thinking about starting to collect maps. $25. Here's an early map of New York, published around 1840. And here's a map of the overland route to India, published by John Tallis in the 1850s. Very famous for the small vignette views that he put on his maps, and that's $125. Along the sporting line, we have a nice collection of fishing books, and here's a lovely print done in about the 1880s, a chromolithograph of beautifully tied hand flies, and a little collection of books on fish, the Appalachian Trail, American Angler's Guide, and then, if you really want to go wild, a really superbly beautiful 1802 book on fishing, a concise treatise of the art of angling, published in England in 1802, and that's $250. Here we have a beautiful photographic collection with Scott to the Pole, Herbert Ponting's photographs, stunning photographs of this fateful trip when Scott and his 3 companions died, and they did not return. That's $25. Now for the man cave, we have some lovely, beautiful, hand-colored prints from about the 1850s of French military subjects. That's the Swiss Guard and some foot soldiers, rather dandy. Here's a book on the Grand Vin de Lafitte Rothschild. Beautiful production, tipped-in plates, illustrating the famous vineyard, $45. A short history of bourbon, $20. We have a large collection of military books. Here's a nice one on the Civil War in pictures. Very nicely illustrated with Illustrated London News prints and Harper's Weekly prints of the time, so the woodblock illustrations are reproduced here, and that's $10. And for our hobby chicken farmers in the area, we have a nice little selection of chicken prints, about $35 to $50. Here's a sweet little book about Nell Gwynn, published in 1908. Beautiful tipped-in illustrations, $35. This book is Gardening by Myself by Anna Warner, one of the Warner sisters from Constitution Island. What I like about it is this wonderful homemade fabric book cover that someone has made for the book, including this nice little bookmark. This is a gorgeous book on Saga School Flower Arrangement by Hasegawa. Beautiful silk-covered boards, bound in the Japanese style, published in 1953, comes in a box and is $25. This book, entitled Old-Fashioned Flowers, is by Morris Maeterlinck, and beautiful watercolor illustrations, published in 1905, handsomely bound. We have a nice collection of fashion plates from a wonderful periodical published in the 1920s called the Gazette du Bon Ton, the Gazette of Good Taste. And it was essentially advertising fashion of the day by the famous designers. And the prints are just stunning because they are printed in pochoir color. Every color on the plate was applied with its own stencil by hand. This print, they've done a beautiful job of setting this gorgeous scene just to sell this dress. You have the woman centered in the dress in the sort of midfield. Off to the left, you have this little girl with a bunch of roses that she's giving to the grandmother who's in the front right corner. All this designed to beautifully portray this dress. Here's a print called Winter Approaches, and she looks rather sad about that, but she looks rather grand as well. And here is an evening dress to die for. Here's the original puff coat, silver no less, 1921. And here's a rather cubist impression of a cape by Madeleine Vionnet. Here's the wedding dress, the bride, the groom, the flower girl, and the photographer with his back to us in the front left. Here's a copy of the Velveteen Rabbit, a gift edition with a box, $35. Here's a book, The Motor Girls, lovely illustrated cover. This is a book of hours. It's a reproduction done in 1970 by Oxford, based on a manuscript in their library. Just beautiful reproduction of this book, which was an assistant to prayer. And the book of hours is $45. And we have a beautiful fine steel engraving. We have quite a good selection of these beautifully engraved prints. This one is of a mother and a child done in round, which is gorgeous, and that's $85. It's published in about 1860. Here's the Education of American Girls in 1874. It's surprising what they thought it was important to know then. That's $75. Here's a coffee advertisement from a book called The Maître de l'Affiche, which translates roughly as Masters of the Poster, published in 1898. This was how most ordinary people were introduced to poster art at the time. This particular one is $225. This collection of views, they're Native American wildflowers with Hudson River landscapes behind, by Edwin Whitefield, published in 1845 with original hand color, and they're around $200. There's a nice little collection of early science fiction magazines, weird tales, and amazing stories. Really, the cover art is fantastic. These are about $35. This is a map called Mappamondo des Races. So it's a map of the world with respect to racial characteristics. They were very keen on examining heads and trying to ascertain trends, and phrenology was popular then. examining racial characteristics. This map is $75. Here, for instance, is a map done of some islands from the Mediterranean: Corsica, Balearic Islands, and Malta, done in 1853, $55. Here's an Aerosmith map of the world on Mercator projection, published in 1835. Aerosmith was probably the most famous 19th century English cartographer. He had access to all the most recent information from explorers who gave their information back to the British government, particularly decorative with a little rondelle at the top and bottom of the Arctic and the Antarctic. And he would also note, for instance, just to the left of the Antarctic, explorers' tracks. We always have a selection of local authors: Wendy Bounds, Susie Gilbert, Trudy Grace, Jonathan Cruck, and even T.C. Boyle, who was a local boy. That's a proof copy, or a pre-publication, of his wonderful local novel. Here's a wonderful map of the moon, published by Hohmann circa 1740 in Germany, with descriptive text beneath, and lovely little putti in the top corner, and that's 2,750. Wow, that's a lot of great stuff. You haven't seen everything yet.